Good morning everybody and welcome to another Typhoon video using prepared version 4.4, and today we're going to be going down and doing some strafing down on the range and then up to an airfield and doing a missed approach before returning back to base. Now we're out in Oman at the minute, currently at Adam Air Base, which is home to the Typhoons that the Oman Air Force have. The range is down on Mazir. It's about 150 miles away, and then we'll go up to Masana to carry out that missed approach using the ILS. The sortie should take about an hour and 15 minutes roughly, but don't worry, I'll chop the video down, so it won't be that long for you guys. You'll just see the action bits really, and then maybe a bit of a montage of the transits in between. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get in the cockpit and set this aircraft up to go. Now, what I've done is I've set all the switches for how the pilot would see it once he gets to the aircraft. There's a few things that he has to do before he can leave. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So to start with, we'll go ahead and apply power to the aircraft. And whilst we're doing that, we can go ahead and go to ground phase of flight here. Go ahead and align the number. That takes about 30 seconds to carry out, which gives us time to go ahead and do some other stuff. So first of all, we'll change our map from tactical to map, and we'll add the compass on there just so we can have a look at our direction of flight and everything else. Next, we'll go to the stores page, and as you can see, Maz is live at the minute, which is as it should be. We've got 2 tanks fitted for the fuel, 150 rounds on the gun, and we've got no decoy, 30 flare and 30 chaff, but we're not planning on using any today, so we'll go ahead and accept that config. Go back to the engine page. Next we will arm the seat. That'll get rid of a warning message up here on the left hand MHDD. Next we'll go ahead and select the VVR button. It has no effect in the game, but it's just a process I like to do. It's a real world thing as well. Then we will go up here to the miscellaneous page, and we'll go into the select bingo, and this is where we'll put in our bingo warnings, so we know what kind of fuel states we're at during the sortie. So we'll go for 5,000, 4,000, 3,000 and 2,000. Once we hit 2,000, we know that it's time to return to base. And that should give us enough fuel to make it back. If all goes to plan, we should be back just before we hit the 2,000 mark, but that depends on how much of the throttle we use during the sortie itself. So with that out of the way, I think everything's set up. Yep, we can go ahead and start the engines for this aircraft. So we'll go for number 1 first. You see it's starting to spool up now. Make sure the parking brake is on. Parking brake is on. Okay, so that's all started up. Let's let that settle for a second before we start number 2. That's pretty settled. Okay, let's go for number 2. Which it has done excellent. So now we will lower the canopy. Now I've got a little bit of stutters here. There'll probably be one when I go to use the gun first time round. I've not got the best setup in the world. I'll leave a description of my system down below. It's pretty smooth for the whole thing most of the time. But there are a few stutters in here and then. I'll try and chop them out if I can. Otherwise, just have to bear with it for a second or two, and then we'll be back to normal. Okay, so now the engine just started. As you can see, the 4 planes are in their parked position at the minute. So what we need to do is go down here, next to the throttles, and there's an FCS button. We need to click that to enter FRS, and those 4 planes will go. and that's when we know we're ready to go. Now, before we do depart, we'll turn the radar and everything on, give that time to warm up. In real world, you're giving it time to warm up. In the game, it's just there straight away, so it has no effect on us pretty much. I'm not using VATSIM or got any traffic on at all, so I'm not going to be conflicting with anybody during this video. So with that out of the way, I think we are good to go. So we will take the parking brake off and turn the ladder lights on, and off we go. We're ready to roll. Now I am using a Thrustmaster Warthog stick in throttle, and I've got some CH Pro pedals for the rudder.
VVR fail. VVR fail.
I've got a lot of things mapped to them, so it's really using the whole HOTAS theme, which is quite handy. So I don't know if you're doing things with weapons or with other aircraft as well. You can map pretty much anything you want almost to them. So we're going to be departing from runway 13 today. We're going to perform a max performance departure. So that's when the aircraft goes into almost a vertical climb, and then we'll top out about 6,000 feet and continue the climb at a bit more of a manageable attitude. There's a bit of a misconception with the Typhoon. A lot of people think that the aircraft can just climb and climb and climb, nose pointing up to the sky pretty much up until about 30,000 feet, which isn't the case. Not if you've got tanks fitted and weapons and all that sort of stuff. So we'll top out, like I said, we'll top out at 6,000 feet and then continue the climb. So what I'll do is I will also select the plan mode. So now we can see our plan that we've got loaded, which will take us down to Mazira. So we'll hit this airway intersection, Giska, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and we'll turn off slightly and head down towards the island. Once we hit the coast of the mainland Oman, we will turn right slightly to follow the coast down until we come onto the correct bearing for entering the range, which is a 080 track. Once we're on that track, we'll go down and start the strafing runs. We're going to be doing some runs today from 10,000 feet, and then at about 3 nautical miles from the target, we will pitch in to a 30-degree dive angle, and then we will commence the strafing run. We've only got 150 rounds loaded to the aircraft, which is the max that they can take. So we'll probably get about 3 or 4 runs in before we come off and head up to Masana for a practice approach. Alright, so we'll come up to the threshold. So we'll stop there and do a last few minute checks. So fuel's all good. We've got 5.5 tons pretty much. Go back to engines. We'll go to the stopwatch up here so we can get that running as we're flying, so we know how long we've been in the air for. Radar, everything's on down here. Everything's good to go down here, which is good. Right, so we are good to roll pretty much. So let's go. So brakes off. Get that stopwatch running. And away we go. So if we're doing a performance departure today in this config with 2 tanks fitted, we're looking at a rotate speed of 135, which doesn't sound a lot for this type of aircraft, but with the power that this aircraft has, it's enough to continue to gain speed whilst we go into the vertical climb. Nice and set up on the runway, nice and straight, and let's punch it. Increase the throttles, full power, and away we go. So 135, here we go, pulling up now, gear going up, go. 50 degrees nose up. So I said we'll top out about 6,000 feet, roll to the right towards our waypoint, and then continue the climb at about 12 degrees. So 6,000 feet, rolling. There's the waypoint, rolling over. Coming down now to about 12 degrees. There we go. And away we go. Keep it in reheat for a second just to let the power build up, the speed, sorry. Once we're there, just come out of power, keep it at about 95% there. That should be enough to keep us rocketing up to the sky.
Bingo 1. Bingo 1.
So that's 5,000 kgs left of fuel, that's acknowledged. And you can see there, just hit the 5,000 marker, and away we go. So with that out of the way, I will bring you back once we're just about to start the descent into Missouri, the weapons range. So see you in a minute. Okay, so welcome back. As you can see, we're about 41 miles out from the weapons range. There's a few things that I'm going to do before we get there, just to help us out once we're on the range itself. The first being, if I go to the nav page on the left-hand glare shield, you can see up here at the top we've got auto/manual. What that is your flight plan changing a waypoint, essentially. If it's auto, it'll automatically change, I think, when you're about 3 miles from the waypoint. If you do it manual, then you have to manually change it yourself using the next waypoint or previous waypoint buttons below. I'm going to change that to manual. What that'll do is that will keep the range selected. So when it'll act as like a bullseye for us when we're on the range, and we can follow the pattern. Pretty much makes it easier for us to know where the target is at any one time. Next, we'll go to the right-hand glare shield here. We've got the low height warner. I'm going to set that to 500 feet. If we ever hit 500 feet, then we will. That's when we're in trouble, pretty much. So we should be pulling out of that well before, because we're going to be doing some strafing from 10,000 feet here. So we should be off well before that. I think the lowest we'd probably go is maybe 2,500 to 3,000 feet. So we should have plenty of clearance there, but it's just a precaution. Okay, right. So now we've got 24 miles to run. I'm going to disengage the autopilot.
Altitude mode dropout. Altitude mode dropout.
Okay, I'm in trouble here. Thought I'd disabled. Mistake there. A little bit unprofessional there, should have sorted that well before. So, I'm going to now descent. Reduce the speed on the throttles here. As we make our descent into zero weapons range. So as I said before, once we hit this coastline here, we're going to turn right. It's maybe about 200 degrees. And head down that way until we pick up a track of 080 for the weapons range. Now, as I said before, I am not a real-world pilot. do not fly the Typhoon for real. I have no idea if what I'm doing is 100% accurate, but from what I've read online, various aircrafts and air forces seem to use this kind of method for strafing. So there we are, coastline. I'm going to come round now to 200. Follow the coast down until we start to get a track of 00 on that waypoint at the bottom left of the hood. What I'm also going to do is going to put our barrow rad on so we can see both, because I think the elevation of the range is slightly higher than sea level, so that'll just help us out a little bit as well. We're looking for a pattern height of the range of 10,000 feet. So that's what we'll try and aim for, and a speed of 350 kdas, which is the Typhoon version of airspeed essentially. What I'll also do is, I've got a stable view set up here, so when I'm pitching and everything, the view of the cockpit doesn't move, it's stable. I find it a lot easier to be able to see what I'm looking at essentially, because I tend to find it doesn't blur a bit when you're in the other view, but it becomes a lot harder to see things. No, it's probably not the most realistic, but hey, it's just a simulation. Okay, so I've slightly overcooked it a little bit, so I will come back to maybe 07 degrees rather than 08. I will select the gun, and we are still in safe mode, so I need to arm my late arm switch. So there we go. At this point, I'd be telling the range safety officer that I am blah blah blah, call sign a number in hot before strafing run or something like that. So as I said before, once we hit 3 miles, that is when we will roll and pitch in and commence the attack. There we go, 3 miles. Bring it down, get about 30 degrees. There we go, and that's what we're aiming for, that diamond. So now, clearly see the target. Fire.
Pull up.
And that's what I mean, I get a little stutter the first time I use Tacpack when I fire a weapon. It just freezes for a second or two. I don't know whether that's just me or if that's like a wider community thing. It's a little bit frustrating, and you know, it just takes away from it a little bit. I suspect it's probably more to do with my setup than anything, but I do promise you it is only on the first strafing run, so we will not see it in following runs. So now that we're off, I've made my late arm safe, and I'll be telling the range safety officer that I'm off cold, or safe, just so he knows that my aircraft is safe to fly over the subsequent areas. I'll try and maintain 350 knots here, if I can, and 10,000 feet. So what I'm looking for now as a reference, that down there, just above that cloud, you can see like a circle. That is the where I want to be heading for the downwind leg of the pattern. So now that that's there, I will bring the aircraft round to a heading of 260, which is the downwind heading of the range. But ever since I started learning how to do flying like strafing runs and all that sort of stuff, I've got a lot more of appreciation for what real world pilots have to do. There's a lot of information that you've got to monitor, try and hit those parameters such as your airspeed, your height, your heading, and just everything. It's quite amazing really. I've certainly got a lot more, not respect, I've always respected pilots, but yeah, I can't think of the word. Okay, right, so now once we're hitting this coastline, we're going to come back onto a heading of 350. At this point I'll go back to my stable view, and I will arm my gun. There we go. Now that I'm in the pattern, I'm going to be looking to start my turn into the target at about 070. So by the time I roll out, I'll be on a heading of 080. And then once I hit 3 miles, that's when I will pitch in and commence the target run. As you can see, it's just down there. Everything's looking good so far. 10,000 feet, bang on. Speed about 350. I'll increase that speed a little bit because once I start my turn, the speed will bleed off. Okay, so 070, starting the bank, pulling the G's. 080. Come on, there we go. 3.3 miles, 3.23, there we go, turning in, and there's the diamond. 30 degrees of bank, of dive. Trying to get that diamond, that pipper on that diamond. There we go. Can see that it's hit, a good hit. Pulling up, applying the power. Late arm to safe. And we're climbing out and we'll come off cold. Back into the pattern, so heading for a 170.
Wing tanks empty. Wing tanks empty.
Heading at 170. That's just a warning there telling us that there's no fuel left in the external wing tanks. Which is fine. So coming up on 10,000, lower the nose.
Bingo 2. Bingo 2.
Bingo 2, that's 4,000 kgs of fuel left. That's acknowledged. Okay, yeah. There's that circle that we're aiming for. So we can start our turn into the downwind leg. There we go. It's about 3 o'clock. There we go, starting the turn to come onto a heading of 260. We've got 70 rounds left, so I'll probably get another 2 runs in before we head off to Masana to carry out our missed approach. Or practice diversion missed approach, I should say. Now the scenery that I'm using here, as you can see, is photo tiles. It's just some scenery that I've made for myself. It's not, I don't think I'll ever release it because as you can see, it's a bit patchy, but I prefer it because it's only desert here anyway, so I find it a lot better than the either default scenery or the FTX global scenery which I have. It's a little bit more realistic. Some areas are more patchy than others, but I can live with it. If it wasn't patchy, I'd probably look at releasing it for everyone, but I don't know how. It's not the quality that I'd like to release it at, so I won't. Right, so now we're on the base. Late arm to arm, waiting for that bearing of 070 before I start my turn in. A little bit faster than the 350 knots because that speed will bleed off in the turn. And still trying to maintain 10,000 feet. So 070, there we go, starting the turn, getting those G's in, coming on to 080, there we go, bang on that time, wait for that 3 mile point, there it is, 3 nautical miles, pitching in, there we go, 30 degrees, pretty bang on that time, trying to get that pipper on that diamond, there we go. Hit the target, perfect shot. Pulling up, applying the power. Late arm to safe, and we're off. So 26 rounds on the gun left, so we'll get one more run in, and then we'll head off. Go for a 170 heading for this pattern. Normally with, like if you take patterns for example at an airfield, normally they're, certainly with military anyway, they're oval patterns, they're not square. Here on the range it is square. I think it's mainly for the separation. If there's multiple aircraft using the range, it gives them that more distance that they can use, so more aircraft can use the range at the same time. It's probably also a safety thing as well. I'm not 100% sure. If there's any of you pilots out there that know, let me know down below. Okay, so there's the ring road there. Looking for that. It's 2 or 3 o'clock. We can begin our turn in to 260 for the downwind leg. 260. Oh, we're now down leg. Downwind, sorry. Down leg. Can't even speak today, can I? Okay, so coming up on that coastline once, then it's at our 3 o'clock bang on, that island there. Oh, that's my 3 o'clock. Start turning. We'll get to my stable view now. Coming around. 350. Go. And making sure I try to stay on that 10,000 feet mark. Let that speed build up a little bit, because as I said before, that speed will bleed off as I come in hot. So now I'm going to make my late arm armed. I'm just waiting for that bearing to come up to 070 so I can turn in. There we go. Come around. Try to keep my nose up and let it get away from me there. 080. 3 nautical miles. Rolling in. There we go. 30 degrees. Perfect. See the target there. It's looking good. Still fire the last rounds. There we go. Hit the target there. Power on. Late arm to safe, and because we're exiting the range, we're going to exit to the left, and that'll bring us on to our heading to head to Masana. Power. So we're going to head north until I can change the waypoint from manual to auto. There we go. So now we're in the climb. We will change that back to auto. And there we go. That's our track now for Masana. So I will leave that there, and I will pick you back up when we begin our descent into Masana for our practice diversion missed approach. Okay, so welcome back. We're just about to begin our descent now into Masana. So what I'm going to do is, in fact, before I start anything, I'm going to take us out of autopilot and begin our descent.
Altitude mode dropout. Altitude mode dropout.
Okay, so from Asana we're going to be using runway 26 today, which is the ILS runway. Our ILS frequency is 109.7, so I'll go ahead and pop that in. 109.7. Okay, so that's that checked. Our heading for the runway is 263 degrees, so that's fine. There's Jebel Akhdar down there. I think it's the highest mountain in the Middle East. It's very nice up there. It's a lot cooler than it is down at ground level, sea level, sorry. Very nice. And then we have Muscat, which is just over that way, not far. So 23 miles to the initial point for Masana, which is that square-looking diamond on the hood. That is the initial point. So we've got our aircraft's diamond pointed pretty much at that, and that is where the aircraft will end up by the initial point. So like I said, I've put my ILS frequency in. Once we're a bit closer, we will change from plan mode to nav mode, and that will bring up our localize on glide slope bars on the hood. Also, we are going a little bit fast, but I'm not too concerned, because by the time we hit that initial point, we should be about 14 miles roughly. Gives us time to get some speed off for about 7 or 8 miles. We will lower the gear. I think we're looking at about a 240 kDAS speed to configure the aircraft for landing, or for the approach anyway. So we'll put the gear down at that point, and hopefully by that time we should have had bled off enough speed to do that. If we haven't, then I will just extend the air brake, and that will slow us right down to that configurable speed. Okay, so we're being pushed off to the right slightly. I'm not too bothered, I think that's by the wind. That's fine, it just gives us a bit more space to bleed off that speed. So I'm going to go ahead and change to nav mode.
Autopilot. Autopilot.
You'll have to forgive me, I'm using a HOTAS and I just clicked the wrong button. There we go. So we're looking for a 263 heading. At the minute we're at 284. Just gone down to 283. Once we're probably about 268, 270, that's when we'll begin our turn onto finals. So I'll go ahead here and change the Barrow to Barrow and Rad. I think the elevation of Masana is slightly higher than sea level, so that'll just help us out a little bit there. Go down to about 3,000 feet before I take the glide slope. As you can see, the localizer is alive there, which is fine. So 2,000 feet, that'll be alright. 263, there we go. Don't know if you can pick it up on the screen there, but I can just make out the runway in the distance. So it's slightly to the right, so I'm going to just correcting for that now. My glide slope is alive. The airspeed isn't bleeding up quick enough here, so I am going to extend the air brake to bring that speed right down. We're looking for a 240 kDAS for the landing gear. So we've got a bit of time before the 7 mile point where I'm going to lower the gear, so we have got time to bleed off that last remaining bit of speed. So there we go, hit 240. Just going to power up now so we can maintain that. Okay, so I'm bang on now pretty much. We're going to point our diamond at that runway because that is where our aircraft will end up. Got a bit of a side wind here, so that's blowing us slightly to the left. So there we go, below 6-7 miles an hour. Okay, a little bit fast there. Right, but let's get that gear down, but I'm not too concerned because the landing gear will create a lot of drag. They're not the most aerodynamic of things. Okay, so now that we've got 3 down, 3Ds in the left hand side of the hood there, make sure our landing lights are turned on, and we will continue to fly this approach. I am a little bit high at the minute, according to the glide path, the glide slope. Let's drop that nose a little bit more. There we go, it's starting to come back in a little bit. Now I am a little bit heavy, 2.5 tons here, so I am going to carry that speed in on the approach, which is why we're at 190 at the minute. Now the aerodynamics for this aircraft, I don't know how 100% accurate they are, but I do find that you need to carry in a lot of speed on the approach, otherwise you will just drop.
Low height. Low height.
Otherwise you will just drop like a rock. So I've got 2 reds, 2 whites, which is good. That diamond's still on that threshold, trying to line it up. Now we're not actually going to do a touch and go, we're just going to do a missed approach. So once we get within a couple of feet of the ground, we will just push the throttles forward and away we go. Okay. So there we go, coming over the threshold now. Throttles forward and away we go. Gear going up. Now I can change my nav mode back to my plan mode, and that will take us back to Adam's initial point. So we'll climb up to 1,000 feet and then we will break out. As you can see here, I've got a little bit of scenery here from Asana. It's another project that I'm working along with Adam. I'm aiming to try and do all of the air bases in Oman if I can. Not necessarily a full scenery, because that can take absolutely years, any of you that know anything about scenery building. Certainly if it's not your full-time job. So I'm trying to do like a light scenery almost. You know, the core buildings, maybe some ground equipment if I can, and that's about it. Maybe in the future, once I've released it, I'll continue to develop it and create a bit more of a full scenery package for it. But that is not the aim of what I'm doing at the minute, so we'll see how that goes. It's time dependent. I do have real world commitment as well. So 60 miles to run now to the initial point for Adam, so we'll climb up to about 15,000 feet. And then once we're about 30 miles away, we'll again begin our descent into Adam. So, look at this terrain, it looks fantastic with this photoreal scenery. Like I said, I do prefer it over the default scenery, or textures I should say, or the FTX global textures. I find you tend to get like loads of grass vegetation, when as you can see in the real world it's not like that at all. So now that we're above 10,000 feet, we can come out of Barrow and Rad. We'll just have the Barrow, come up to 15,000 feet here, so we're going to pitch the nose down. So looking for 350 knots on the cruise back. If I can. Okay, seems to be getting away from me a little bit here. Get the autopilot in again. That's what we need to descend.
Autopilot. Autopilot.
Okay, so we're about 30 miles out now. Just going to disengage the autopilot there.
Altitude mode dropout. Altitude mode dropout.
And we're going to start our descent into Adam's initial point. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to put in the frequency for the VOR/TACAN at Adam, which is 112.45. And we can use that once we're about to turn onto the airfield. Again, we're using runway 13, and so our heading that we want for that is 129. how much fuel do we have left? 2,356 kgs, which is fine. Got plenty of fuel to get back. So passing that 10,000 marker soon, so again I will switch the barrow to bad and narrow. There we go, 10,000 feet. Now, I don't know whether they do that in real life, I just like it. As I said before, I'm not a real world Typhoon pilot, just a simmer. So 3 minutes to go to the initial point. And we will turn left onto a heading of 129. For weather today, I'm not using any active sky or anything like that. I've just got Rex for the textures. I'm just using the default weather system here. I've not branched out and bought active sky yet. From the videos I've seen, I don't think it looks that realistic. I don't know whether that's just from whoever's made those videos. They've not set it up right. I've just not been taken aback by it, so I've not bought it yet. If you've got it, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. You know, is it worth it? Does it add that much experience to your game, or is it not worth it? At the minute, I'm standing on the fence of it's not worth it. I would like to have it, you know, for the real world weather, and you know, you could obviously got the historical weather there that I've seen, which would be nice. But again, I'm on the fence pretty much at the minute until I get a yes, I need that. I can't justify going out and buying it. But let me know. So we're going to go ahead here and change from plan to nav. So I'll bring up the Adam VOR in the HUD. So I said we're looking for a 129 heading. 157, 14 miles, which is fine. I'm going to break into the pattern at about 1,000 feet here. So still got a bit of a descent to go, 1,000 feet. I'll try not to talk too much so I can concentrate on hitting that 129 marker. I've got a tendency when I talk to lose track of what I'm doing. So I think Adam's elevation is about 1,000 feet. So I'm looking at 2,000 barrow and 1,000 rad. Looking good round here, very nice. Like I say, I prefer it so much more to the default stuff or to the FTX Global. So there we go, 134, starting to come round now. 1,000 feet. Aiming for 350 knots. We're going to aim to come down the dead side of the runway as well, so that way we can check. See if there's anything on the runway. I've overcooked it slightly there, so I should try and bring it back. 128, 129. There it goes, start to bring it back in now, feed it back in. Yeah, from what I've seen in the real world, they do fly down the dead side of the runway, so they can check if there's any obstructions on the runway, such as other vehicles or other aircraft or anything else. So we will try and simulate that now. So aiming for that 350 knots, a little bit slow at the minute. A I don't think it needs to be exactly bang on. Looking good so far. A little bit low, 80 feet too low, but hey ho. With the wind here blowing us slightly to the left. So far the runway is looking clear, as it should be. I've got no traffic switched on. And even if I was on that sim, I don't think it's not an airfield that's in the default scenery, so I can't imagine there'd be anybody here anyway. So we're going to look to brake when we're in line with this tower, when it's in our 9 o'clock. There it is, 9 o'clock, into the brake, throttles back, try and maintain that 1,000 feet to bleed the speed off. And we're looking for a heading of 310 for the downwind. Below 240 knots, gear can go down. So 3Ds, all aircraft, all undercarriage are down and locked. Ensure the landing light switched on, which it just is. I've just turned it on with my HOTAS. Trying to maintain that 1,000 feet. A little bit low at the moment. Another little disclaimer here that I've got to give you. I've really struggled to fly this circuit purely from the cockpit. Mainly because I don't have track IR or a VR headset, so trying to look back around into the runway is really difficult whilst trying to maintain the right attitude. So I always have to come outside the cockpit.
Low height. Low height.
And fly the pattern from this view until I get to roughly in line with the runway, and then I'll switch back to the cockpit. Switch back. Come around. So I'll do an approach and go around this one. So there we go. Going around, nose up, starting the climb. So we're going to aim to be at 1,000 feet by the end of the runway, and that's when we'll again brake into the circuit. Try and maintain that speed, don't want to let it get away from us. So I do apologise for the stutters if you've seen any. I haven't got the best system in the world, but I do have a new PC on order, so hopefully that'll be a thing of the past with my new setup. The setup that I've got at the minute is a gaming laptop, and it's about 2 years old now, so it is starting to feel the strain, I think. But it's still overall a smooth experience, just now and again it does stutter. So again, looking for that 310 heading. 310, there we go. On the downwind. A little bit high, but that's okay, because that can quite easily come down.
Bingo 4. Bingo 4.
So that's 2,000 kgs of fuel left, that's acknowledged. Plenty of fuel, but not exactly a long distance away from home base. I have got a VR headset that I will hopefully be using very soon. It's just my laptop that I have at the minute. It's not capable of running a VR headset. I'm a little bit disappointed. I should have done my research before I bought it, to be fair. So I got swept up with the fact that I just wanted one. tried to install it that it wasn't going to take. So a bit of a boo there. So hopefully with my new PC, if that's on its way, it should run it perfectly fine, but it should. And for the research that I've done, so quite.
Low height. Low height.
There we are, looking good. 2 reds, 2 whites. Speed's looking okay. Yeah, it's starting to look a little bit low now, so I'm just going to pull that nose up, get that diamond on the threshold. And there we go. What's that? Nose legs down. There we go, we can go into lift dump now as well. Now, it's a bit of a shame because although the animation's there, the actual effect of lift dump isn't. So it's just for effect, for looks at the minute. Hopefully it's something Dino can work on where it acts as an aerodynamic brake, essentially, another air brake. It would be nice if he could do that. I don't know how he'd go about doing it, but hopefully it's something he can do. So there we are, 1 hour 13 was that sortie. I think I said about 1 hour 15 to start with, so it wasn't too far off. So we'll just wait for this high-speed taxiway up here to come into view. A little bit of braking, so we can hit that as a taxiway. There it is. So I'll head off from that now. There we go, beautiful. So to disengage that, you just push the throttles forward, and away we go. Right, so that was that sortie pretty much done. I hope you've enjoyed it. If there's anything that you'd like to see with the Typhoon or with any other aircraft for that fact, then leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of it, if it was helpful to you, if you enjoyed it, or if you don't want to see any more of this sort of stuff. You know, I would like to get some more content out there if I can. And let me know. Obviously I've got some restraints, I can't buy everything in the world, but I will try and do my best to try and give you stuff that you want to see. So give us a like and subscribe, it's much appreciated, and I'll see you next time.